Great job. Good job. I wanted to ask him a question where he got his board shorts at. That was my question. He's so cool. I love him. He's my neighbor here in Puerto Rico. He lives here on the island in Dorado Beach, about an hour from me. And Jay, are you going to be hanging out here on the weekends? Jay Kinder, are you going to be hanging out here on the weekends? You love this place. It's cool, isn't it? He'd never been here. I'll be back here. I'll meet you here. I live 35 minutes from here. I know. All right. Hey, if you didn't know, I don't know if he said this, but he sponsored over 40. Jay, how big is your organization today? Jay, how big? For the year? Oh, the month, every month. Oh, all right. It's all right. It's all right. Pay some bills on that. It's pretty cool. He's been here 30 years, I think, right? Isn't that what he said? Oh, is it 3.5 years? 350,000 a month, 3.5 years. Anyways, so if you want to get serious, you could do some really cool things. Now, the nice thing is our next speaker, you know, he was a world champion windsurfer. When I say world champion, he was the world champion windsurfer, ESPN, like the guy in the world. Like, that's pretty cool. We can all agree. Then, of course, as a great athlete, he goes on to be the largest owner of Keller Williams franchises in the world. And then he divested himself of all those franchises. And he is what I call a marathon runner. And his story will blow your socks off. So thank God you're wearing sandals. Okay, good. So help me welcome up here one of my best buddies in the whole world, Don Yokum, everybody.
That's tough to live up to there, Brent. All right, so James asked me to start by telling my story, which for 20 years has been my go-to question for interviewing, actually. And as a Keller Williams team leader, when someone would come into my office, I would ask them to tell me their story. And if they were a high I, sometimes that story went on for 30, 40 minutes. I'm going to give you mine in about 3 or 4. Okay, but when they told that story to me, it revealed to me if I wanted to be in business with them, how much I wanted to be in business with them, if they were interviewing for the right role, and how hard I was going to work to get in business with them. Okay, and it would often dictate how long that meeting went. Some of them went about 15 minutes. I've had some go over 3 hours based on that story that was told to me. So I'm going to tell my story, and I am going to give you a few highlights. Brent shared 1 or 2 of them. Mostly because they reveal things about me that should have indicated to people that maybe I was going to do something. Maybe I should be somebody that they should talk to. Also, I'm going to reveal some of the lows. You know, as an entrepreneur, I've had high highs and I have had low lows. Okay, so we're going to start my story. I was born in '64, so I'm an old guy now. And so by 11, I had climbed Mount Whitney. That's the highest mountain in the continental United States. At 12, I entered the Epi's Great Race, which was arguably the first triathlon. And as I was finishing that race, I started vomiting. And I barely broke stride. And having viewed that scene, my dad later said to me, "You know, Don, that was the moment when I knew there was something different about you." Right? And so at 16, I moved out of the house. I went down to Berkeley, got a job so that I could train against the best windsurfers in California. And then by that winter, because I didn't get myself thrown in jail, my dad actually let me move to Florida. And I finished high school in Florida, won 2 national titles, and I got selected for the Olympic training team. And so that was a pretty exciting time. I did not go to the Olympics, by the way. I turned professional. I did win a world title, and I won another national title. I built and sold a business, so that was a good time. But notice the thing doesn't go up all that high. And my dad finally said, you know, because, by the way, windsurfing is not like baseball, football, basketball. You know, I was a professional, but I wasn't making a 7-figure paycheck. I was basically getting to fly around the world and be a beach bum, which was really fun, by the way. I will say, though, and I would relate this to any sport, at least at collegiate level, is that it taught me how to win. It taught me how to compete. It taught me daily disciplines that we need in this business. You know, one of my leaders here, Matthew Stewart, was a collegiate athlete in golf. In fact, coached the golf team, right? So it's a marker, it's an indicator that that's somebody that potentially could do something and is going to have the discipline to see it through, because this isn't easy, and you've got to persist. So 1990 was the first year I got into real estate. Actually, I got in 89. My first full year was 90. I closed 51 transactions and was ripping along. Actually, that's where I met my business partner, Tom Daves. He and I were battling expireds together. Later, we became buddies, and now we're here at EXP together. During that time, I also learned a lot about the treadmill of real estate. You know, I sold at a very high level. I was arguably, you know, one of the top 10 producers in the Sacramento metro area. And but what I learned is that every day I had to get up and I had to jump on that treadmill and run. And you know what the truth was? I got burned out. And so I quit. And so at 2000, I was recruited actually into Keller Williams. That was when Gino and I met. And I want you to notice the pattern here. Remember when I wanted to get good at windsurfing, I went to San Francisco and then Florida to train with the best people. Well, when I was doing my due diligence for Keller Williams, I said, okay, well, I need to know who's doing this better than anyone in the country. And they said, well, this guy, Gene Frederick, he's doing it in Dallas, Texas. It was in the Preston Market Center. And so I said, well, okay, I'm not going to join you until I meet with him. So I flew out to Dallas. Gene and I sat down. And of course, Gene being Gene, man, we were sitting there going over all these spreadsheets. And his office was doing very well, mind you. And I came away from that meeting not only being really impressed with Gene and the transparency, but it was like, Gene, are you telling me I'm going to be able to see all the financials on all the offices, so all I got to do is just copy what everyone else is doing or just copy what you're doing? He's like, yeah. And so that's what I did. I went back to Roseville, and I built an office from 10 to 184 agents as a team leader in 27 months. And then we did 6 in total in Sacramento, 10. I did 10 in Northern California from the ground up, and that was a good run. And that took us up to about, 2007. And in my not so infinite wisdom, and at this point, you're thinking, at least I'm thinking, I'm pretty badass. I made a really bad decision. Okay? I made a decision from overconfidence, right? So one of the things that I coach people to do is not to make big decisions from duress or overconfidence. Well, you know, in my life, I just won. That's all I did. I just showed up and I just pulverized the competition, okay? Well, turns out I was not Superman. I led a group of investors to buy 21 market centers, and I got body slammed and pretty much lost everything. It was a very, very dark time in my life, and it continued that way for a few years, actually. And if the people that were friends of mine during that time probably helped save my life. But like winners do, I did finally get up off the mat slowly. I started coaching people because I felt like at least I could make a difference. I was not of the state of mind where I could take a risk as an entrepreneur again. 2016, Brent came to me and said, "Hey, Don, you know, I really respect you. I know you've got all this knowledge about brokerages. Would you look at this model?" And that's a great approach, by the way. I did. You know, who can't love Brent? Who can say no to him, right? And I came back to Brent and I says, "Hey, man, I know you're going to be successful in this. I'll be honest with you, it does seem a little bit too good to be true." And mind you, I was coming from a bricks and mortar environment, so there were some things that weren't making sense to me fully. But I would say the number one thing was, at that moment at least, Brent was believing more in me than I was believing in me. I still didn't have my feet under me from having lost everything, okay? Another year goes by, Kevin Contrell calls me. Kevin's approach is actually, Kevin and I really have this business numbers orientation, and he's talking about building out regions and everything, and and at this point, by the way, the other reason why I didn't take it when Brent came was I just accepted a regional VP job for Finance of America. So that was going to provide stability for my family, which was super necessary. And when Kevin called, you know, I can remember where I was sitting. I was sitting in this big old fancy office with a window, cush job, American Express card, all is good. And he's like, "Hey, I want you to go, you know, conquer the world." And I still wasn't mentally ready to be able to do that. By the way, little tip on when somebody turned you down, because I actually turned down Brent pretty hard, okay? And what Brent does when you do that is he just loves on you, okay? I mean, I don't know what, the guy is just from another planet, right? And so he would, you know, stay in touch with me. And what can I do, Don? Like we were talking about, because he was like legendary about open houses, and I wanted to do this open house. Absolutely anything you want, you know. And so another year goes by, and I was actually now starting to get tired of the corporate job a little bit. I had stability. And the other thing that was happening was my kids were starting to emerge as really elite athletes. And my territory was Oregon, Washington, and Idaho. So, man, I was traveling. I had 42 branches I had to help from a business development perspective. And so I was missing my kids' events. And these kids are like insanely off the charts stuff. Like my youngest one, Tyler, became 200-meter AAU Western U.S. champion. I mean, just crazy, right? And so Randy Bird calls me. I knew Randy from the Keller Williams days, and I go, "Well, how's Brent doing?" You know, because this is about 2 years in now. And he goes, "Well, Brent's making over 100,000 now." And I'm like, "What?" You know, and this was the thing that was supposed to be too good to be true. And he goes, yeah, no, Brent's making over 100,000 a month. Yeah. And so anyway, I go home that night, talk to my wife. I'm like, "Shit, you know that EXP thing? I think we better take another look at it. Brent's now making over 100,000 a month, you know?" And I wasn't expecting to do that, but I thought, geez, you know, maybe I could do something. And anyway, of course, and then Brent being who he is, even though he had talked to me first and, you know, had a tremendous influence on me, he's like, "Yeah, no, go with Randy. He's my guy. We're going to all do this together," right? Because that's the space, again, that he comes from. So we did, and it's been awesome. Yeah. And, I'm still not net worth where I was back in the day, but you know what? I feel so much richer, okay? Because I don't miss my kids' events. And we do stuff. And, if you're a Facebook friend of mine, you'll see me traveling all these. I am working, by the way. It's the beach scene, but then I'm on the Zoom, okay? So I just make sure they got damn good internet wherever I go, okay? But it's a quality of life that I never had before. And it is, Jay and I were talking about, it's the only business model that I've ever seen that when it scales, it doesn't gain in complexity and bureaucracy and liability. It actually gets easier. This is a rare business opportunity that we have. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to build it. Tony Robbins said there's only 3 things you need to know about how to build a business. The first thing is know who your ideal client is. I believe that is an icon level producer. And what I've come to learn is it's just as hard to recruit a 3 to 5 agent producer, that's per year, as it is an icon level producer. And so when I do my calls, I only call icon level producers, Keller Williams team leaders, mega team leaders, or coaches that coach those 3 types of professionals. The next thing is to have a tremendous value proposition. Well, EXP for the icon is an unbelievable value proposition. I have a phrase I use, and that is if someone is an icon level producer and they are not with us, they are committing a financial malpractice on their family. That being said, now, okay, this is a room of tremendously talented people. You have to build your own value proposition within your organization. And we work on that all the time. Got a lot of great ideas here that I'll be implementing. And then you got to over-deliver. One of the things when I'm coaching agents is I say, your referrals are going to be proportionate to the extent that you exceed expectations. When you meet expectations, all that does is permit you to be able to do business again. To the extent that you exceed those expectations is going to determine the amount of referrals. It's also going to determine the level of happiness that your people are going to have that join you. All right, it's pretty simple. You contact 2 new people a day. You do 2 personal touches. That can be with your organization or it could be follow-ups. And you invite 2 people to an event per day. And that could be from your organization or it could be somebody you're trying to get to join EXP. So it's 2 a day, 10 a week, 40 a month. Rinse and repeat. By doing that, I got ahead of myself. By doing that, you're going to start recruiting, even if you're calling on icon level producers. After 90 days, you'll start recruiting 1 person a month. And in 24 months, by that math, you'd recruit 21. But if you do a little bit of follow-up, you'll actually get up to 2, okay? So I'm saying you're going to get to 24 at 2 years. You will lose 4 to attrition, but you'll still have a business foundation of 20. And from that 20, while you're doing that, your organization is going to grow. Now, my belief is that if you recruit the average agent, if you recruit 20 people, you have a front line of 20, you're going to get 1 business builder. If you recruit 20 icons or Keller Williams team leaders or mega team leaders, you're going to get 3 or 4.
Can you say that one more time?
Yes. If you recruit the average agent, you're going to have 1 business builder from 20 recruits. I believe if you follow my model, you will have at least 3, perhaps as many as 5. But what's going to happen is while you're getting to that 20, your organization is going to be emerging, and you're going to have roughly 150 people at 2 years. You're going to have a 6-figure recurring income in 24 months, okay? And 3 years from that day, you're going to have an organization of 500 people. Now, I've actually done much better than this, okay? But remember, I tend to go at things a little bit harder than most people, okay? So anybody that is an icon producer, though, and follows this plan, I believe could achieve these results. So in summary, lay your business foundation with your ideal client. Do the 2-10-40. By the way, we launched a contest, and all of you are welcome to join us. We have a Facebook group at Atomic Habits Powered by EXP. Every week for the first 12 weeks of the year, you have to have an accountability partner. You have to call 2 new people a day. You report to Megan at the end of the week. You get a raffle ticket. The winner is going to get a ticket to the stockholders event. Second place is $500 hotel for Orlando. Third place is $250 gift certificate for Disney World. Any of you can participate. Anyone in your organization can participate. But the idea is we're trying to get people to just make 2 phone calls a day. Let the events do the heavy lifting. This is, Brent has done this better than anybody, okay? So always be building for an event and then get them there, and they're going to join you within a week of that event. And then finally, match energy with your most talented, right? And try to give them just a little bit more than they give, right? Just like Brent believed in me just a little bit more than I believed in myself, okay? And you'll see them emerge and do great things for you. So then you get to enjoy what I believe is the best risk-reward business proposition available in all of business today, not just real estate, all of business today. Thank you.
Thank you. Don Yokum.